Welcome to the Texas Consilium Show. I'm Michael Yorba, your host. Randy, congratulations for your nomination for the Award of Excellence. I'm interviewing today Randall Stuewe, Chief Executive Officer and Chairman of Darling Ingredients. Randall, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. The objective today is just to find out more about you so that we can get a better, more well-rounded view of why your company exemplifies excellence. So give us some background information on you and your company and what it does.
Well, first off, it's an honor to even be considered, and what's so important to me is it's the recognition 11,000 employees around the world deserve. Darling is one of the oldest companies in Texas today, founded 138 years ago. We were actually brought to Texas by the famous investment group, the Bass Brothers, I believe back in the late 80s, early 90s. And what's Darling do? Darling, as I tell and get a chance to do public speaking, Darling's one of the greenest companies in the world. As I was interviewed on Mad Money and Jim Cramer almost 20 years ago now, I used the line when he completely caught me off guard, which should not surprise anybody, that we were green before green was cool. And what I mean by that is Darling repurposes the waste streams from all of the food production system worldwide. And what do I mean by that? We take the inedible and some edible parts out of the animal slaughter industries, chicken, beef, pork, fish, and convert them into pet food ingredients, into aquaculture ingredients, into natural organic fertilizers, and some commodity feed. We take the edible parts of the proteins and we convert them into something that touches your life every day. Chances are, if you took any type of nutraceutical or biomedical supplement, it was encapsulated in gelatin, and then we're the largest producer of gelatin in the world. And then finally, we take the fat portion, or the greases and fats that we collect from the restaurant trade that are left over from the animal, and we convert them into the greenest hydrocarbon in the world at our factory down in New Orleans, Louisiana, where we produce what's called Diamond Green Diesel or renewable diesel. It's an 85% lower carbon emission fuel than regular diesel at the fuel pump. So Darling operates about 215 facilities, almost 11,000 people in 18 countries, 5 continents, been around 138 years. And for me personally, it was the opportunity of a lifetime. I had the honor of taking over the company at the end of 2002. It had come through some very difficult times. It was a company that had about 25 locations and about 350 million in revenue. We were paying our bills out of a shoebox. So when the city of Dallas or the Dallas TXU would call and they turned off the electricity, we'd pay a bill. And that's what I inherited a company that was both tired from an asset maintenance standpoint and the stakeholders, the employees, whatever you want to call, were very tired. They were working at a company that had not been managed properly, had been financially engineered, run into the ground, and coming to work for most people was a real struggle every day. And so we took the culture, we re-energized it. We created 3 basic foundations of values within the company. It's decentralized, as you can imagine, on 18 countries, 5 continents. So we call that entrepreneurship. What we mean by it is you get to run your own company and your own business. We use the word transparency. The numbers are the numbers. We are blessed to have a public company board that takes a long-term vision of 5 to 10 years on our investment and growth decisions and supports us through up and downs that happen around the world. And then the final piece is integrity. And in today's world, much as we're doing a video virtual conference or show today, we're talking about the instantaneous transmission of information around the world. So integrity to me means that we protect the brand at all costs, that that it is so important to do what's right, whether we're treating people, treating customers, treating suppliers right. You get one shot, unfortunately, in social media. If you don't do it right, they seem to hold a trial and you're found guilty before you ever present your case. So entrepreneurship, transparency, integrity have helped us build the company around the world from 345 million of revenue now to an enterprise value, I think, of last night of somewhere between $5.5 and $6 billion. So it's been a great run for me personally. It was fun to take the different trainings I had along the way and learnings. I came out of the university at Kansas State in Manhattan, Kansas, went to work for Cargill. Probably it is the largest privately held company in the world. And oh, by the way, they have great values that we've kind of taken a few of theirs and brought them over, but very private, very long-term oriented. And then I made a career change about halfway through and went to work for Conagra Foods, where I got to see the exact opposite of Cargill, different values, and a company that was so results oriented it forgot to take care of its people. And I told myself laying in bed one night, if I ever get a chance to build a company, I want to take the best of Cargill, the execution and the results orientation of Conagra Foods, put it together, and we'll have a recipe that I think people will love to be part of. And I can stand in front of you today and say I'm very proud of what we built as a team around the world.
What's your vision for the future? Let's say 5 years out.
It's a fun question. As people get to know me and you get me in sometimes a private setting and I laugh about it. You know, we came from 26 plants to 215 plants, and I think the cartoon the what's out there, what Family Guy, and I think there's the character Stewie Griffin. And with my last name being Stewie, they gave me a little doll about 10 years ago, and it's a Stewie Griffin's World Domination Kit. So we always kind of joke about our strategy as being world domination. And really, at the end of the day, we're the only company in the world that does what we do in so many places. And the thesis for the company is very simple. We believe that when wealth is created, so you have population growth, wealth is created, there's two consumables that people go after next. One is energy. They've got to drive or fly to get somewhere. And the second is food. And we happen to participate in both of those segments by repurposing animal byproducts, used cooking oil, and other ingredients into both food and feed and fuel to support a growing population. So essentially our model is very simple. As population grows, as it doubles here by 2050, as people learn to eat better with the wealth that they're creating, yes, we'll never take on a conversation that doesn't say plant-based proteins or fermentation-based proteins won't play a role in it. But emerging economies truly love fish, chicken, pork, and beef, and we'll be part of that. And today we process about 10% of the world's production, and I think we'll continue to do that going forward, and we'll just get bigger and better at what we do. And the greatest part is it's fun to tell people what you do by repurposing the waste streams from the food production system, making it more efficient and allowing us to have people around the world have easier and more economical access to food going forward.
Now, you mentioned a few things earlier, but I wanted to circle back and give you a chance to highlight them. What makes your business special?
It's always it's a fun question. I love when I get asked this because I give an example of the first thing you have to do is be able to tell people what you do for a living, and really trying to create an identity for your company has been probably one of the largest and most difficult challenges I've had. The process we use is called rendering. And I tell a story. I was speaking at a New York investment conference, I don't know, 10 years ago, and one of the organizers came up to me and she said, "Mr. Stuewe, I'm so excited to learn about rendering. I take my children to Central Park every Easter and I get their renderings done and put it in my office." Well, rendering is the conversion of meat and animal byproducts into fats and proteins. So trying to have people learn what we do for a living, and ultimately I try to tell people as we look, well, what do you do for a living? If I want to have fun with you, I say I grind up dead animals. That doesn't really go very far. But when I said we repurpose waste streams from the food industry, what do I mean by that? I mean yes, all the inedibles out of the meat production industry, plus we pick up the out of code date, if you will, the Walmarts, the Costco's, the Albertsons. We pick up the French fry oil from McDonald's, Wendy's, Arby's, Burger King, Taco Bell. You can just keep naming them. And then we pick up all the commercial bakery waste that's created out of General Mills, Nabisco, et cetera, flours as we go forward. And all of those streams are repurposed into something that probably before us would have gone to the landfill. So in the what I call the millennial, the Gen X world today, they can really grasp a hold of repurposing and upcycling a product into something that makes the planet a better place. We create great jobs for people, and ultimately we can smile because we know we're touching people's lives and improving the environment every day.
Good answer, Dan. Thank you for that. All right. Now, the Texas Consilium Award is based on business excellence. So the criteria encompass customer satisfaction, operational excellence, employee satisfaction, business performance, and more. But describe how your company exemplifies excellence.
Yeah, the world that we live in is one where it's a very, very what I call volatile margin environment, meaning making money is challenging from years to years. Some years are just a little better than other years. That's when I spoke of being blessed with a board with a long-term, vision and horizon. And so built within that is the three values of entrepreneurship, transparency, integrity. And so you build out of that then an operational excellence model. We have to become more efficient, use less energy, use less water in our business every day. We carry the social goals of making sure that we provide education opportunities for our employees, along with massive amounts of training for those that exist within the factories today. And you couple all that together, and you just are forced via the industry we're in to get better and better each year. And driving our business is a wonderful ERP Oracle platform that then creates a business intelligence environment and such that we're in the middle. And I would say we're in kindergarten, maybe first grade now in our digital transformation, trying to become smarter about our customers and suppliers. Amazingly, we consider ourselves as an upcycler, repurposer. We're on the leading edge of doing things with products and creating products now in biomedical and bionutrient areas that haven't been done in the past. But yet we're hooked at the hip to, what some often describe as the second oldest profession in the world today, where if you think about the genesis of the business itself, rendering was a process. It's separating fat from protein. And if you go back to pre-refrigeration days where the animal was grown, whether it's a cow or a chicken or a hog, it was slaughtered. The meat was either eaten at the time or canned. And then the leftovers were thrown in a cast iron kettle. A fire was started. You're going to flash off the moisture or cook off the moisture. And then you're going to separate the protein from the fat. As we say, great-great-grandma used to introduce a little lye and make soap with the fat. And then the protein residual that was left over is actually high in nitrogen. So it was organic fertilizer. So the genesis of the business, 138 years ago was really basically, soap and fertilizer. And then today, as we continue to convert, we take bones now and different skins into biomedical products for health and et cetera. It's an amazing transformation, but it's all done on what I call razor thin margins and you're tied to the oldest industry in the world today, being the meat production industry.
Now, you're going to be speaking to an audience of Texas business leaders wanting to improve their own businesses. So, and the leadership creates a variety of journeys. So, what lessons have you learned along your path that you might want to relay to those that want to follow up and create excellent companies themselves?
Yeah, it's always a fun question when you think of, never did I ever think I'd be in a position where I'm telling other people how to do things as far as businesses. But I always try to step back and say, let's talk about the lessons learned along the way. Let's talk about the scraped knees and the bloody noses of the mistakes that we've learned from. My world is Darling has acquired nearly, I think, 20 or 22 companies over the last 17, 18 years. And we're one of the few companies in the world that can say today that we've been successful in integrating all of those cultures. And really, when I start to think about it, the lesson that I share with people is 3 out of 4 acquisitions fail, and they fail because you don't get the culture right. You tend to believe that the people you've surrounded yourself with are smarter, better, brighter than the people you're acquiring, or else, quote, their company might not be for sale. And I 100% don't believe that. And I think that the thing that we've been so successful at is in looking at a culture, studying a culture. And what I mean by that is from what I call first date to the wedding altar of bringing a company into the Darling family is roughly about a year and a half. And during that time, I want to learn, and my executive team wants to learn more about you, more about your family, more about the values that you share, what keeps you up at night, what makes you happy, what makes you smile. And we want to make sure that it's right. And as I always say, the thing we try to prevent is we don't want to join the wall of shame. And it's so, I always look at it and say, we buy great businesses with great management teams, we pay a fair price, and then we put a capital structure, meaning if we borrow money from the bank, we put a no-fail capital structure in place, because I just don't want to be in a position where I have to downsize, lay people off. I want to get it right, get it integrated. And then essentially the lesson that I share with people, if you are in building cultures, you've got to go slow. You've got to learn. You've got to listen. And I know they're the cliches, but at the end of the day, it's true. And for me and my management team, we log a lot of airline miles. We're a very hands-on company, which is not one of micromanaging, but one of listening. And we think it's important to be in front of all our people weekly, whether we do it by video now or whether we do it by airplane and go in and work with them. We just think still to this day, no matter how digitally transformed we become, how data-driven we are, someone still has to make that decision, and a personal touch, especially with the employee, clearly it plays to us. And I think we win from it. I mean, as we came through the COVID-19, or should I say we're still going through, Darling globally was deemed an essential and critical service in Europe, Canada, US, South America, and China. And with that came an incredible responsibility to keep our employees safe and to keep the company running, service our customers and our suppliers. And the only way that happens is by being close with your employees, explaining the situation, listening to them, and making sure that they feel comfortable in the roles we're asking them to play. And I can honestly say now, since the end of February, 1st of March, I think the team has done just a fabulous job. We may not have got everything right, but globally, our factories remained online, full, even in China during the crisis. And that comes via the culture that we've built of openness and making sure that we address problems very quickly and just do it right.
Thank you for that answer. That's very descriptive, and as a matter of fact, I actually am learning things from you through this conversation. Last question, what is Darling doing regarding social responsibility, giving back to the communities that you work throughout?
Yeah, and I would tell you, that is something that's on our radar screen and of growing importance each and every year. And I'll talk a little bit. I kind of want to say where we're at, because I personally give us, basically a C- today. We need to do more. The challenge, as I led into the discussion earlier, was that we're so decentralized that managing giving back to communities is to, if you will, monitor it becomes a little bit challenging. But here's what we're doing. And if you think of it, Darling has been named one of the top ESG stocks in the world today. ESG meaning environmental, social, and governance. Governance means how we operate the company from an SEC public perspective. We get a score of 1, which is the top. Environmentally, clearly the things we do are the absolute right things for the planet, and you're measuring water, energy usage, carbon emission, greenhouse gas reductions, and we're considered on the Russell 2000, the number 2 company there. And then you move over to social, and what we've launched in that area that we're working so hard on is giving back to communities. I kind of talked about the business we're in, and what I mean by that is this isn't the most glamorous business. Sometimes if the products that we're hauling in our trucks, we run the 10th largest private fleet in North America today, are meat byproducts that are without refrigeration, and I don't mean that they don't smell very good. And so at the end of the day, our factories smell wonderful because they have environmental controls, but we have to be aware of the communities we're in, and that maybe that we're providing a critical and essential service, but we've got to be part of that community just because of the business we're in and sometimes of the unintended consequences. So socially, from that perspective, at a community level, we are deeply involved both in our local governments along with the philanthropic givebacks to whether it's high schools or different organizations in 130 cities in the United States and 6 in Canada, 68 in Europe, making donations. Just recently, we in the Dallas area, we donated to several different food banks as we felt we were so blessed by being an essential service that we thought it was important to give back. And then when we look socially around the world, it also brings something to me that I think is probably as important as giving back to communities. It's giving back to employees. And ultimately, we do it in 2 ways. One, during COVID-19, from a critical and essential service, we did give additional compensation rewards to people that were asked to work during those times. And then more importantly, beyond the remuneration side, is really the education side. And Darling has launched globally 3 programs that are, I think, in year number 4 or 5. It's the Darling Leadership Academy, Darling University, and then Involve. And I'll kind of go Darling University. You're a 1 to 3 year employee where we sit down and teach you the business, the values. You're exposed to all the global executive leadership team for a week, and you kind of get to know what we're about and make sure that it's a right fit for you. Then Darling Leadership Academies for our more seasoned employees, where we teach management skills, problem solving, the different finance attributes that are required in our business, and really get people to learn about themselves and their management style. And then the Involve program is a European-based program that we've launched where we actually take about 20 college students every year, put them into a leadership program, and then put them back into internships with the goal of bringing them into our business. So, when people talk social give back, we always sit back and look at it both introspectively and then outside what we do for the different communities today. But, Darling is clearly on the ESG radar screen, and we're very, very proud of what we've accomplished.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Randy. All right. This concludes this portion of the interview that we're going to use publicly. And I'd like to ask you a couple of additional questions. if you may, off camera, but I've learned a lot. I really appreciate you taking the time, and congratulations for being nominated for the Award of Excellence.